Hello viewers, Super GT here. Finally, back at a kart circuit. It's been 4 months nearly since I was last out on circuit, and well, a lot has changed. We all know about that. Lockdown, COVID-19, and the world's a very different place now. But here we are, back at Wilton Mill. I'm currently stood on the second corner, and today I'm going to be doing a 30-minute practice session. Mainly for the video, for the content of course, but also just to get back out in a kart. You know, been doing all the sim racing recently, and as good as that is, nothing compares to doing the real thing. So here we are, back on the kart circuit, half an hour, just a practice session. There is someone out there with a Lewis Hamilton suit on, so we'll try and lunge him as many times as possible. Okay, so some news, some good news and bad news. Start off with the bad news. Unfortunately, because of this pandemic, the season this year has been completely changed. Now, Jimmy and I, we started Shadow Realm racing in February. We had a really good result. We finished in third in our first race, but the endurance season has been cancelled because of social distancing and all that malarkey. We can't do endurance racing with the driver schools. And yeah, unfortunately, Jimmy and I won't be able to race with each other. We'll sort something out. But without further ado, I guess it's about time to get out on the track. Now we're going to be doing half an hour session. I might be a bit rusty, but we'll see. It'd be interesting to know how quickly I can get back up to speed, because it has been 4 months, and before that 4 months I had a 3-month gap. So I've only done karting sort of once in the last 7 months, and that's really a big gap for me. But enough jibber jabbering about. It's time to let's get on the track, shall we? Okay then, here we are. We've whipped out the old 360 cam. I was a little bit late to the session. Everyone's actually already left the pit lane. Too busy talking to people. But here we are then. Wilton Mill. Great circuit. Probably my favourite, if I'm honest, in the UK. Not that I've been to many in any other countries, other than probably the Spa circuit. Other than that, I haven't really been to any other tracks in other countries. Although I suppose Wales. Wales is another country. Been to a couple of tracks in Wales. Okay then, lap 1, let's just try to get used to this. Now this, as I said, first time in a kart since the end of February. And yeah, near enough 4 months, so it's been quite a while. But usually, right, I find that sometimes it comes back quite quickly, and actually having a break can actually be a good thing. I am definitely going to be a bit rusty. You see there, I completely obliterated that curb at the Ashby hairpin. But maybe it's a good thing here that I'm on my own on the track, so I can just kind of focus on myself, not have to worry about overtaking anyone or getting overtaken. And then coming up to the boot here, so the last section, very technical section here, and coming up to the final corner here. Now I'm going to clatter this giant cliff of a curb, and you see it there as I pan round. Absolutely obliterate it, and it doesn't look that bad on the camera, but this is something I must say that I've gone through all my footage, of course, in the past, GoPro footage on this camera as well, and you know, when you have a collision or you clatter a curb like that, it never looks as bad on the camera. It feels way worse when you're actually there. And I did mount that curb, you know, the one on the final corner. It is a big chungus, let me tell you. You don't particularly want to be touching it, because it will send you to the Shadow Realm if you do it too many times. So top tip for you, don't touch that curb. So we've had our warning there. Let's try not to touch it again. Let's come through the boot, and here we are then. Let's try to avoid it, and then I'll guide you on a lap of Wilton Mill in the Club 100 kart. So turn 1 and 2, you go over to the right hand side. It should be flat out here. I do have a hint of a lift, and you can run all the concrete on the exit, and then you've got the straight up towards Christmas Corner upwards, and therefore you can brake very late, really carry a lot of speed through here. This section, this left, the right of Inkerman's, both flat out, and then you're going downhill now into Ashby, slightly longer braking zone because of the downhill nature of it. And again, running all the concrete, as you're going to want to do that if you want maximum speed, using the tarmac on the entry and on the exit there to really open up that corner, and then through the left onto the back straight back towards the boot. And this can be a very good overtaking opportunity. clattering the curb, using or getting my left-hand wheel to the left of the pit lane entry line to give you a better run for the right. And then on the exit here, you can run 2 wheels. As long as you've got 2 wheels on the red and white curb, then you're okay. You can't go any wider than that. That's kind of the Club 100 rule. And you can see getting a lot more brave now through that first corner. And first and second corner. So first and second corner are pretty much flat out. You might lift a tiny bit if you want to take a line which doesn't mean you go so wide on the exit. So obviously if you go too wide on the exit, you're kind of driving the wrong direction. Pusher cart lets me go through here. Well, it's not the pusher cart, it's the pusher cart driver in a Club 100 cart. Having a quick practice. Someone off here, someone slow. Not quite sure what's happened to them. But this is what happens when the camera falls off, which was about to happen. It was always going to happen. But funnily enough, it actually gave us some very interesting camera angles. And no, this is not a paid promotion by CZ Chains. But the thing about this 360 camera is, of course, it's recording in every direction. So no matter where it is, you can always kind of pick out a good angle. So you can see I can flip it around and have a weird sort of throttle foot cam. So there's actually benefits to it falling down. You can actually still make something of it. It's just when it shakes about violently, it's actually quite hard to watch sometimes. So coming into the pit lane, we're going to sort this out because I can't have this thing dangling about everywhere. So we're going to come in, change it, and try to put it back on. But this is a recurring problem, and I'm pretty sure it's because of the mounts. I'm going to blame the mounts that are on the cart, which are beyond my control. So you slide the camera onto the mount, but it's a loose fit. So every time you go over a bump, it's kind of shaking all over the place, which is kind of annoying. And there's not much I can do. I mean, I can try some solutions, maybe stuffing some electrical tape or something into there to minimise the movement, but that is something we're going to have to work upon, or get a smaller camera, because the Insta360-1X, it is quite a meaty old thing. And if you see any of the photos of it, you can see how big it is. Probably takes about 2 seconds a lap because of the aerodynamic loss, because it's such a big thing. So coming out the pit lane, just letting some other carts go. Always a good idea to look over your shoulder, see who's coming. In a race you just go, you just block whoever's there, but in a practice session, I'm not going to block anyone. Let them go through the first corner, unchallenged, and now I can try and catch up with them. I'm going to try and do that right now. So there's a group of about 3 or 4 carts, 4 carts I can see, just up ahead. Try to catch up with them as quick as we can. So it's good here, you can see the pedal inputs. And again, another benefit of the 360 cam, you can look in any direction, up, down, left, right, you name it. And I've chosen this angle here so you can see my pedal inputs, brake on the left of course, throttle on the right, in case you were not quite aware of that. And the kart now getting up to speed. It was a very hot day this, you can see the clouds forming. I think like sort of mid-20s, maybe getting towards the higher 20s. And I suppose many of you in the world thinking that's not that hot, but in the UK that's pretty high. We don't often get well into the 20s. Doesn't happen all that much. We're normally a rain-soaked, dull, grey island, but you occasionally get some nicer days like this. The camera didn't really feel like being a proper camera. We'll still try and salvage some angles here. This is quite an interesting angle. Actually, I go past this guy around the outside, and you see this is what I mean by the fact that the camera's just flipping about all over the place. A little bit later on, we found the Lewis Hamilton look-alike. This has got a Mercedes Petronas suit on. This was quite a nice little angle as we went past him. Now as we go into Christmas, I've pulled off a nice little 360 no-scope, but then we did decide to come to the pit lane. And this time I felt like just taking the camera off, I could just focus on my karting, focus on my lines for 10 minutes or so, and then come back.
Yeah, oh, right, that was broken, and that one's got a puncture. I'm going to change the punch over on that in a minute, so you'll do another 5 minutes or something. Yeah, I'll come back. No, I'll get his, do one, put on.
Okay, so what I did here, I put the camera away for like 10 minutes, went back out, and then I came back and went into a different kart, which is here. And hopefully this kart has a better mount on it. I mean, the reasoning I'm going to give here is that the mounts they're using aren't that great, because the one I've got at home has a really good fit, but this one, it slides about a little bit. Changing the pedals, moving the cart, let's go and see if we can have some uninterrupted running with this cart instead. So, posing for the camera, let some carts go. Now, we're going to have to get this new cart up to speed. With these Rotax carts, I found that it actually takes 15-20 minutes for them to get really up to their maximum speed. It's kind of strange how that works, but with the TKMs that we used to use, they used to be up to speed in 3-4 minutes, but these carts can really take a lot longer to really get the maximum out of them. And already the thing I'm noticing with this cart is that it's a lot quicker accelerating, but it doesn't have as good top speed. So you might hear it maxing out a lot earlier on the back straight after turn 1 and 2, but it does come out of these slower, the slow and medium speed corners like a little bit quicker. And that's the thing with Club 100. All the cars are meant to be roughly equal on a lap, but some will be slightly better at accelerating with less top speed, and some will have higher top speed with less acceleration. Not much difference, but it's certainly noticeable if you've really driven these carts quite a lot. As we come to this car here, it didn't really take much speed for that first and second corner. I was going to go for this move. I mean, ordinarily, that would have been a massive send, full send up the inside, but there was a yellow flag. Now, up the inside of this guy, I think I scared him. He turned away last moment. As I went for the gap, he left it open. I just showed myself in there, and I think I scared him. But no contact, thankfully. So we continue up behind this chap, and he takes a little bit of a poor line, must be said. Gets some poor momentum on the way out. And we're just going to get the overlap here, as you can see, up the inside. And we get the move done. So a couple of carts here. Dispatched fairly quickly into the final corner. So this cart up to speed quite quickly. Now I'll give you a listen up this back straight. You can hear pretty much the point when it maxes out. So pretty much maxed out halfway down the straight. The engine tone was the same pretty much the whole way, or near enough half the way. Whereas the previous cart was never stopped accelerating down that straight. But this one definitely pulling out the corners a little bit better. You might be able to hear it with the engine note, and that's normally the way you can tell if the cart's good or bad at a certain thing, just by the tone of the engine. But by this point of the session, I think we're about 23 minutes into the session or so. I'm actually really getting back into it, and like I said earlier, it's not easy sort of coming back after a long time out, but it comes back. I've been doing karting for nearly 20 years now, so I've got enough experience to know that it's just going to come back to you soon enough. I've driven this track. It's hard to know how many laps I've driven around this track in this car, in a Club 100 kart, but it's well into the hundreds. So I've got enough experience around here to know, hopefully, vaguely what I'm doing. I wanted to talk quickly about the upcoming season, which is obviously very different. Now, we've all experienced this, presumably, with world sport. It's all been messed up because of the pandemic and the lockdowns. But we do thankfully have a season to race this year. But the Endurance Championship, which myself and Jimmy Broadbent were entered into, has changed. That's no longer happening because we can't quite do the social distancing in pit lane with driver swaps, with refueling, with that kind of thing. So unfortunately that championship has been cancelled. There are other championships. The Sprint 60, there's a new Enduro 60 format, so a 1 hour race. The Sprint 60 is like 2 30-minute races, and of course there's the Sprint format, which is the one I do anyway, and I'll be doing that in the lightweights. And I'm currently second in that championship after only one round before everything got messed up. So there are still going to be plenty of races this season, and I think it's a 10 round calendar still. So normally it's like an 11 or 12 round calendar, but we still got 10. and it's just going to be a very condensed calendar basically. So a race pretty much every 2 months, every 2 weeks, rather than maybe one a month. So it's going to be a lot more frequent. It will seem as though I'm at the kart track all the time, but that's no bad thing, of course, as we all like karting, and it means more videos, and it just means getting out on a track more often, which is just always a good thing. You know, as much as I love sim racing, I just love racing. As much as I love sim racing, I just don't think it really ever compares to just getting out and doing the real thing. I think the real thing is just always going to be better. I just can't imagine a day when I would prefer sim racing to doing real racing. Not to say that sim racing is bad or anything, it's still really good, but you know, just the thrill, the G-force, the sound of doing it for real is just so much better. And of course, sort of the danger factor, the adrenaline that you get. But that is the session done. As quick as that. We managed to get about, well, near enough a 20-minute video out of this, which is a good thing, of course, given that the camera kept falling off. But I'm just happy that we actually managed to get something. Nothing too special here, you know, just a quick practice session, but something to warm you up for the season that's to come, starting in July, as we return to the pit lane. Some of these massive speed bumps in here, really frustrating. Very, very annoying. But we're going to return to the pit lane and have a little chat with our fellow racers here. There's only 20 of us on the track, so it's quite an empty session by normal standards, I suppose, because normally you can get up to about 35 karts on the track, which makes it a lot more busy. But overall, really enjoyed it. Just great to get back out in a kart. Just the sensation of speed, especially coming through turn 1 and 2 at Wilton Mill. Nothing else quite like it. So if you're in the UK, if you want to have a quick thrill in a kart, definitely recommend a bit of Club 100 around Wilton Mill. Can't go wrong, really. But time to get changed and have a little debrief. Okay, there we go, guys. Half an hour in a kart, and my god, I was rusty out there. I was making a lot of mistakes, especially on the first lap. I launched that curve on the final corner, but it was really good fun. Apart from the camera falling off a couple of times, but at least we managed to get quite a bit of footage there. We managed to get the suit off, because my god, let me tell you, it's absolutely baking. The last time I was in a kart was February, and it was like being in a freezer, but now it's like being on the sun. It's actually very, very hot out there today. Overall, really good to get out in a kart again, and I think in the end we did get the quickest lap time. I can put those on the screen right now. So the speed was okay. I was just a little bit rusty, so I was making quite a lot of mistakes, and obviously we're going to have to sort out this camera problem. So essentially we've got this mount here, and you slide that onto the kart, but then it's just a little bit loose basically. So every time we go over a bump, it's just violently shaking about. So we're going to have to try and sort that one out, because that is very frustrating. But there we go. Thank you so much for watching as always. Make sure you give us a sub and drop a like if you did enjoy. But hopefully it won't be too long before we're out in the kart again. But until then, I'll see you next time. Have a nice day and take care.